Crime King back.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Crime Circus. My name's Drip Drop, and I'm your host as always. There's a lot of information to digest in this, and before we get to that, I want to give a brief disclaimer. Anybody named or discussed in this video is presumed 100% innocent. None of the information I'm about to present is presented as fact. This is all speculation, opinion, and guessing. You, the viewer, may come up to your own opinion and conclusion after watching this video, but I have nothing to do with that. I've always stated in the beginning of every single one of my videos, everybody discussed is presumed innocent. I've never falsely accused a single person. I would never accuse an innocent person of murder. That's serious business. Jack Decor? That's an innocent man. Adam Latta? That's an innocent man. Jack Showalter? He might be in Africa, but he's an innocent man. Anyways, this episode is about Bryan Kohberger. This is my second video on Bryan. If you haven't seen my previous one, check it out. We're gonna jump.
What's up, guys? True Crime King back. And wow, I can't wait to do this reaction. So now, before you watch this video, I implore you to please watch the video right before this, the Gray Hughes timeline reaction that just shows you the undeniable proof that Kohberger is guilty. Okay, and now that we know all that, I'm going to go back and I want to show you, real quick, one thing that I don't do as a YouTube, content creator, and, somebody that just goes, I present my evidence based solely on the facts, right? I don't flip-flop, okay? If I tell you something, I stick to my guns, right? I want to show you how much of a flip-flopper Crime Circus is. And you know what? I'm going to go back and react to all of these to show you guys how much of a fraud this guy really is and how much of a clickbaiter, and he just shows you guys, he plays off what is getting him more money. That's it. It's just ridiculous. I saw his, his views on these videos. He's getting double talking about Kohberger being innocent and selling his soul and lying to everybody, or just totally abandoning what he says here, which you'll see in a second. Man, this is gonna be great. So get comfortable. Here we go.
Jump right into this and start with a boom. Papa Roger posts on December 15th, the killer has the sexual dysfunction. Thoughts? Somebody says yes, he also likes his steak medium. The vegan Papa Roger says, is that your first thought? I do believe Papa Roger was spiraling out of control in this social media frenzy that he had created. He interjected himself on 4chan, Reddit, and Facebook. Does he have a sexual dysfunction? Absolutely he does. In my opinion, most killers that I've researched absolutely commit SA before they commit the killing. This case is different. Bryan has ED, and that's why he certainly could not perform. Now,
And I want to make sure everybody knows, this is, again, Crime Circus's second video on the Idaho 4 case. And this is when he was saying, without a doubt, that he believes Kohberger is the man after he's done his research, right? And he believes Kohberger is 100% guilty, right? And then, out of the blue, he just starts totally doing a 180, right? And there was no evidence, there was no other evidence for him to, change his freaking mind over, because all the evidence was already out there, and there's a gag order, you know. So it's not like he saw some smoking gun and changed his mind, right? He's just doing it because he's selling his soul. That's it.
Check out this next post. A knife is a very risky weapon if you know you're going to murder 4 people. Do we think the killer also had another weapon, such as a stun gun or other knife? Or did they not know?
And that Papa Roger who just says that's apparently Bryan Kohberger, okay?
Then the post carries on, but that's the screenshot I took. Why does he keep asking these questions with what do we think? I think he knows the answers to these questions that he's asking, and he's wondering what the general public is thinking about this horrendous, horrible crime that he created. I think he's leaving little clues here and there, and he probably did have a stun gun with him, as well as an extra knife. Also on Bryan's questionnaire 7 months prior to the murders, he asked, "How did you leave the scene? Before leaving, is there anything else you did?" On Facebook, Papa Roger says, "How did the killer leave the scene? Did he clean up at all?" To me, that looks like the exact same person typing, asking basically the exact same questions. Somebody on Facebook said, "I think we should give them the dignity they deserve and not theorize on where their bodies were." Papa Roger responds, "This is the discussion of the case. You are participating by choice." Someone responds to Papa Roger, "The 4 victims didn't participate by choice. You are one sick individual. Glad you are locked up." Most people that have come across the Papa Roger's messages on Facebook are convinced that that's Bryan Kohberger without a doubt.
Yeah, and so was Drippy Drop, okay?
And this is one sick individual.
And it probably most likely was Bryan Kohberger, right? He's not posting anymore. You know why? He's in freaking jail because he's a psychopath and a murderer and should be treated as such.
Dealing with. Now let's take a step away from these Facebook posts and talk about the vigil. It was highly theorized that the killer would show up to the vigil. Kaylee's family was terrified that the killer would show up at the vigil. FBI profilers said he will probably show up at the vigil.
I agree, you know. Remember Scott Peterson? He was on the phone with Amber Fry, his mistress, at his wife's freaking vigil, right? So I agree. Most of the times, these psychopath killers do go to the vigil, right? Let's see if Bryan Kohberger did.
Personally, I had my doubts. Even when I first came across this footage, I wasn't so sure. I try not to believe every single thing I come across on the internet. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and even what you hear on this show cannot be taken as fact. I can only present you my findings, and it's up to you, the viewer, to come to your own conclusion.
Remember, this was about a year ago when Crime Circus... Remember, I used to like Crime Circus, right? Before he lost his freaking mind and sold his soul, right? And flip-flopped. So now, I'm just going to show you the evolution of Drip Drop.
Conclusion. Let's check this out. I'll show you what I found. This is video footage from the vigil that happened in early December, and one man sticks out of the crowd here. I'm going to let the video play.
Okay. Can you see which man sticks out from the crowd, guys? I'll give you a couple of seconds. Hello? Okay, so we see Bryan Kohberger smack dab in the middle, alone, with his hands in his pockets, at the vigil, right? Just taking a casual stroll, right? But he wants to see the damage he created, right? Think for a second. If he did not commit these murders, and he was innocent, or is innocent, right? Why would he be at the vigil, right? He didn't go to the University of Idaho, right? He didn't know these girls, right? Right? So why would he be at the vigil? You know why? He's the freaking murderer. You know? And even in this video, back in the day, Crime Circus believed this too. And he says without a doubt he believed this, okay? And he also says he did all his research and was convinced Bryan Kohberger was the killer before all of a sudden. And you know, I tried to find that video of Crime Circus talking about somebody parachuting onto the 3rd floor. I have it on my channel. I couldn't find it on his channel. I think he deleted it. I'm gonna look one more time. If he did delete it, I'm just gonna react to the one on my channel, because I want to show you guys how ridiculous this guy really is.
And then I'm going to slow it down and play it a little slower. And we're going to do some side-by-side comparison of known video of Bryan Kohberger walking. Now I present to you footage of Bryan Kohberger walking at one of his graduation ceremonies. I'm going to play these clips side by side. I'm going to slow the footage down, and you let me know what you think.
Kind of weird. He didn't shake his hand. He gave like a fist bump. I've never seen that before. But anyway, it's hard to tell because you can't see Kohberger's freaking feet in this.
Now there's been recent video of Bryan Kohberger after his arrest, walking with shackles on.
Well, he's got shackles on. All right, here we go. Still can't see his feet. He's got shackles on.
I'm going to compare this to the visual video. We're going to take a good look at this.
It's obviously him. I mean, what are we comparing here? It's obviously Kohberger and Kohberger. Who cares? Why are we comparing the walk? It's both Kohberger, right? You know what I mean?
Well, what do you think of those video clips? Is that Bryan Kohberger at the video?
Yes, it's Bryan Kohberger, the visual. I mean, what the fuck are you talking about?
Visual? I believe 100% that it is.
And you just heard straight from the horse's mouth. He believes 100% it's Bryan Kohberger. Of course, look, that's Bryan Kohberger. He's got a freaking beak. That's 100% Kohberger. We don't need to analyze the walk, okay? It's Kohberger, right?
It's a tall man with an odd walk, and additionally, he conveniently has his hands inside of his coat pockets.
Yup.
And yes, others have their hands in their pockets too at the vigil.
You know why? Because he just committed
it's extra suspicious after seeing the recent traffic cam body video, because...
Oh, did you see that? What a douche.
Bryan's hand does appear to be bruised and damaged, and that traffic cam is 1 month after the murders. The visual...
I agree, Crime Circus. His hand does appear to be bruised and you know, fucked up. You know why? You know why? Because you just agreed with me. You agree that you think Bryan Kohberger committed these murders, right? Wow. How much you have sold your soul, boy.
It was 2 weeks after the murders. So it would have been even more swollen up and damaged 2 weeks after. You give me your opinion down below. Some of you will think that's Bryan, some of you won't. I believe in my heart of hearts that it is Bryan, or I wouldn't waste your time showing you footage that I don't...
Well, now, really, everybody has to believe it's Bryan, because you either believe Crime Circus or you believe me, and now we're both on the same page. Hey, so everybody's happy, right? You know what I mean?
don't believe it. A lot of us were wondering, would the killer show up to the vigil? I believe he did because he's sick. On December 8th,
Yes,
Papa Roger asked,
that's what I've been telling you. Only I haven't sold my soul, right?
on Facebook, why did the killer choose that house over all the others in the area? Somebody responded, Papa Roger, random killers will also target home based on ease of... And then my screenshot got cut off, and then it continues, unobstructed view, lights on at night, perfect for voyeuristic activity.
Okay, and remember, Bryan Kohberger most likely wrote this as Papa Roger, right? Unobstructed view, right? Okay, from the back where he parked for when he did do the killings, you can see right into the windows. There was no blinds, no shades, nothing. You can see right into the house, okay? And there's woods in the back. You would never be noticed, right? It's perfect for voyeuristic activities. Possible that the house fit a fantasy scenario in the killer's head, which who knows what Bryan Kohberger's fantasy was, right? Obviously, it was sneaking in and killing 4 people or something like along those lines, because that's what he did, right? Reminded him of something of his past. Who knows what that is too? Possibly even a vehicle that reminded him of something. Someone who has spurned him, robbery target, whatever. Okay, so who knows what's going on in the psycho Bryan Kohberger's head? Okay, but this is what he was thinking. Okay, and again, this is Crime Circus saying, not me saying. This is Crime Circus saying that this is Kohberger saying this. Okay.
Possible that the house fit the fantasy scenario in the killer's head, reminded him of something from his past, possibly even a vehicle that reminded him of something, someone who had spurned him, robbery target, because the door was accessible, had a grudge against previous tenants, they lived there at one time, they still live there. So that person came up with some random various answers for Papa Roger, and Papa Roger responds, excellent. He was getting his rocks off on these questionnaires. He was being really sick on the internet. He committed these crimes, and then he went online and discussed these crimes.
Again, we have Drip Drop telling you Bryan Kohberger committed these crimes and then went online and talked about the crimes. Okay? Undeniable proof of selling your soul, right? I wonder what his supporters are going to attack me about on this video, right?
Keep in mind, the 4chan user, Inside Looking on Reddit, and Papa Roger on Facebook have not posted since Bryan's arrest. And all of these people were super obsessed with this case. They were talking about it at all hours of the day and night. It almost seemed like they weren't even sleeping. They were spending a super amount of time on the internet discussing this case. Since the arrest, not a single peep. Now, before we move on to some numerology, I'm going to show you a clipping of this article I found on the internet that was posted 5 years ago. Why are so many serial killers born in November? Bundy, Manson, and more. For those of you that aren't familiar, Bryan was born in November, and his birthday was about 1 week after the murders. I guess that was a little early birthday present to himself, because he...
Here we have Crime Circus telling you that he believes Kohberger committed these crimes again, right? And he was born in November, just like a lot of other psycho serial killers, okay? I'm just giving you straight from the horse's mouth, him telling you and giving you the evidence. I really don't even have to do much.
He's sick. The article continues. 17 serial killers were born in November, compared with an average of 9 for other months. Out of a total of more than 100 in the study, those born in November are most likely to believe they get a raw deal. A 2005 study found that they grow up to be the most pessimistic.
All right, so ladies, if you if your significant other was born in November, watch out, right?
I don't know who did this study, but it sounds pretty on point. Bryan was born in November, and he seems to fit right in with the other 17 serial killers that were also born in November. It also seems like he feels like he got a raw deal throughout his life, and super pessimistic. Moving on. I know some people say to leave the parents out of a situation like this. However, no stone can be left unturned in an investigation this important. We must take a look at the people closest to Bryan.
And I just want to reiterate, this is when I enjoyed watching Crime Circus, right? No problem admitting that at all. He wasn't a lunatic, and he did not sell his soul yet.
There's questions to be asked that we do deserve answers to, such as why would a senior citizen man fly all the way from Pennsylvania to Washington just to end up driving back days later in that dirty, dirty Hyundai on that long, long road trip? It seems a little suspicious. It seems Bryan could have just got on a plane if he wanted to see his family.
All right, so real quick, there we have proof that Drip Drop knew about the Elantra, analyzed it, knew about the trip back, so he knows all this stuff. There's no reason at this point to flip-flop other than views and other than money. That's it, okay?
Was his father aiding and abetting? And no, that's not accusing. That's a legitimate question.
Yes,
and I'm not the only one that's going to be asking that question. The police will, as well as the prosecuting attorney. If he wasn't aiding and abetting, I guess he was just an unknowing helper. However, I recently came across this old newspaper clipping written by Mary Kohberger. That's Bryan Kohberger's mother. Let's see what she had to say for herself in the newspaper.
Let's see.
Mary Ann Kohberger says, cheering the hearse. Brooklyn. Perhaps one of the saddest commentaries on mankind was evident during the execution of Theodore Bundy. While no sane, compassionate individual would excuse the atrocities committed by this man, neither would any sane individual applaud the passing of his funeral hearse. What have we become?
What do you mean? If I was alive and saw Bundy's hearse drive by, I would be applauding. What the hell are you talking about, miss? He murdered how many women again? Hello. I would been clapping. 100%, right?
The taking of a human life acceptable when the state takes responsibility for it? Well, I guess that's up for interpretation of the viewer for how you perceive what that article means. It seems to me that she's a serial killer sympathizer, and that nobody should cheer when a serial killer has justice brought to him. Ted Bundy was one of the worst of the worst.
Yes.
He did some of the worst things imaginable on this planet. What are the odds a mother would write this into a newspaper, and then years later her own son ends up committing very similar crimes to Ted Bundy?
Yes.
The worst of the worst.
Which now, Crime Circus seems like he's on the freaking defense team. You know what I mean? It just boggles my mind. And it should boggle everybody's mind, right? I just present the evidence, like I always do.
Folks, this is crazy. You can't make this type of stuff up.
This is crazy.
When you put puzzle pieces together like this and they connect perfectly, it really does make you wonder what kind of household was Bryan raised in. He decided to go to college and study killers. His professor studied serial killers. I think this man was obsessed with BTK and Ted Bundy.
Yes.
So what do you think? Are these parents responsible in any way for this horrible happening?
I agree with everything you're saying.
Parents have been known to help their children in cases like this. Look at Tori Adamsick's parents. That's the original Scream killer from Idaho. He also did a stabbing. His mother defended him since day one, and she even wrote a book proclaiming her son's innocence. Some parents will do anything for their child, especially if they feel their child is in danger, or that the world is attacking their child, or that their child is just misunderstood and their love is unconditional. I'm not saying Bryan's parents had anything to do with this, but we really should know if Bryan's parents had anything to do with this.
We should.
That's important information. Now moving on. First, let's start with Papa Roger and his profile picture on Facebook. You can see this is a side profile image, but this appears to be Bryan Kohberger. Obviously, this is created inside of one of those photo apps where you can turn...
Okay, yeah, obviously this is some AI-generated app, right? I mean, look, you can see the beak on both of them, okay? I think he just put into an AI aging app and put a hat on. That's probably most likely what Bryan Kohberger would look like in probably 50 years, right? It's pretty freaking creepy, right? I mean, the beak is unmistakable.
Turn yourself into some type of cartoon character. I 100% believe that this is Bryan Kohberger, and this is an artistic rendition of him for his...
And real quick, I have to stop it when Crime Circus says he 100% believes this, okay? So he can't come back later and says he didn't, because he's telling you now, or back when he made this video, he 100% believes all this, okay? So, you know.
His profile picture. Just like the inside looking account on Reddit, he was ballsy enough to use his real image because he never thought that he'd actually be a suspect in this. Also, something I came across that was quite interesting. Many of you out there are familiar with the questionnaire that he put out on many subreddits asking very odd questions about crimes, and he was looking to get answers from criminals. The questions that he posted on Facebook were very similar to the questionnaire questions that he posted supposedly for his college class. Bryan asked in his college questionnaire, why did you choose that victim or target over others? On Facebook, Papa Roger asked, why did the killer choose that house over all the others in the area? What do we think is the entrance point to the crime scene?
Alright, so again, we have the actual Kohberger asking basically the same exact questions that Papa Roger and the AI Bryan Kohberger. I mean, obviously, Papa Roger is Kohberger. We've established that, okay? I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. This video is getting a little long, but we get the point here. Let's see.
Red flags that are presented to us. Now moving on. Now we're going to touch very briefly on numerology. I touched on this topic in my previous video on Bryan. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Right here, right now, we're going to talk about the Amityville Horror. For those of you that aren't familiar, that's a crime that happened on November 13th, 1974 in Amityville, New York. Many people passed away at the hands of a psychopath, and that crime also happened at 3 a.m. Interestingly enough, the house address was 112. So you can see the similarities to this Idaho case. The house number was 112. The house number in Moscow, Idaho, 1122. It also happened on November 13th, just like the Moscow case. It also happened at approximately 3 a.m.
So all you conspiracy theory, numerology, whatever, how about those apples, right? The Amityville Horror, it all lines up with the Moscow murders, right? Just, I don't need to say anything.
So there's a lot of similarities in these cases.
Yep.
And Bryan Kohberger knowingly studied murderers.
Yep.
So there's a good chance that the date, November 13th at 3 a.m., meant something to him.
Yep.
As well as the house address, 1122. I can't make this stuff up, folks.
Yeah, nobody can, Drip Drop. Thank you for presenting all this evidence and showing us that Kohberger is guilty. I appreciate it, okay? It's too bad that you had to sell your soul and start lying for views and clicks and to get more money from your views and start lying to your audience, which now a lot of them believe your lies. It's just too bad, but it's a good thing that there is honest YouTubers like True Crime King around to call out the bullshit. So, guys, I just wanted to give you more evidence of how Kohberger is just without a doubt the suspect, the murderer, the psychopath. And I wanted to show you how Drip Drop and Crime Circus, did say all these things, believe 100% Kohberger was the killer, and then sold his soul for some reason, most likely just for more views and more money. And that's the bottom line, because True Crime King said so. So I'm gonna keep doing all these and just show you the evolution of Drip Drop, because back in the day, he did make some good points on how Kohberger was guilty. So I'm gonna react to him. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit that like and subscribe button. I would appreciate it. Share this video. Get it out there, because we're going to the top. And until next time, True Crime King out.